It is the Anfield Wrap. It is a Sunday. It is the end of the Anfield Wrap's 3-week review. Will be out later today, and there will be a post-match show after Liverpool women play Bristol City. But normal service resumed from Monday. I am joined by Neil Docking, by Andy Bell, and by Paddy Fitzsimons on this early Sunday start to get everything in over the course of the day. Later on, after the game, Liverpool women versus Bristol City, I will be going to the Clipper, which is a Green King pub. It is the season for festive football, and the best way to watch it is at your local Green King pub. After all, it's a time to catch up with friends, old and new, and get down for refreshing pints, delicious food, and live action of every Christmas game. It's every fixture from TNT, Sky, and Amazon will be on there. It'll be wall-to-wall action because that's the way Christmas works. So head to your local Green King pub and watch every single winning goal / contentious penalty / the idea of Liverpool saving the day in an atmosphere worth sharing with one another at the Green King Sports pubs as they're going through the year. Download the app and you'll get 10% off drinks every single time the sport on the telly. I've mentioned our free week. We'll get on with the game. Andy Bell, let's not pull our punches. You were there. I think it was Liverpool's, we can now do the cold light today. Liverpool are top of the league. Arsenal did fail to drop points. Yesterday was wonderful. It was a series of hugs. It was unbelievable delight. It was a side that had pulled it round. But it was Liverpool's poorest league performance of the season, I think, by some distance.
Yeah, there's strangely enough being top of the league and 37 points from 16 games. There have actually been a couple of contenders for that. Obviously yesterday probably I do think takes it, but there's Luton as well. There's Wolves, although I think the ratio of bad to good at Wolves was slightly higher. Good to bad was slightly higher than the ratio of good to bad yesterday. It's just 15 minutes, isn't it? But honest to God, I had my similar to you guys. I had my work Christmas night out on the Friday night. Received a ticket about 7 a.m. The only way I could get down really was a coach that left at 5 a.m. And when that 4 a.m. alarm went off, I was questioning my weekend choices.
And you were probably also questioning them at about 2 p.m.
I was going to say 75 minutes in, I was questioning my entire life choices. It was that bad. But the last 15 minutes made the entire day and the entire weekend totally worth it. And, being in that end, it did feel... I'm not sure how it came across on the TV, but I felt like despite the performance for 75, I still thought we were pretty loud. The atmosphere was quite good. We were getting behind the boys. We knew how much it would have meant to us to win that game. And at the end, it's just one of the best let-offs you'll ever see.
Every bit of it, Paddy, from the outset, just looks wrong. And it's interesting, the manager, I saw his comments to the BBC after the game, and he was very much, we thought they'd be devoid of confidence. We were meant to set up to exploit that fact. And he said for 77 minutes, I hated every minute of it. And, the idea that he's acknowledging it was a Crystal Palace side that Liverpool will have felt were vulnerable. They did absolutely nothing to take advantage of the vulnerabilities of Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I suppose it's a pattern though, isn't it, now that we've seen stretch to the back end, well, nearly all of last season really, with these away games where going into it you think, they're struggling. We should be the side here to put the nail on the coffin, possibly for the manager losing his job, things like that. The pressure's been on them all week, and Liverpool just seem to give these sides all the encouragement in the world, whether it's, they don't exactly go for it from the beginning, but also just basic things like passings being short and and not quite getting going, attacks breaking down. All you want, I think, at the start of a game like that is just a sustained period of pressure. First 5-10 minutes, you win a couple of corners. Ideally you score a goal, but that might not happen. But if you keep them penned in for 5-10 minutes, their players are going to start thinking, yeah, this is as hard as we thought it was all weekend training, and this is going to be an absolute slog of a game.
And you've seen Liverpool sides go to Palace and do that. I was expecting them to. I'll be honest, I was really disappointed because I actually thought, I've seen us be good on this ground and I've seen us be really imposing on this ground, and they don't impose.
Yeah, and it was the first game in a while where they've really annoyed me. Because I think some of the excuses we've made for them, at times this season. Listen, I'm overjoyed with us being top of the league. The results at tea time as well with Arsenal. There's loads to be positive about in terms of big picture stuff for Liverpool. The more the season goes on, the more I'm excited about what this side's going to do, possibly in the short term as well. At the end of the season, winning things. But I think if you to look at individual games, and especially yesterday, I don't want to make any excuses for them, because even legs I don't think can really be an issue. You can talk about training times and things and the fact that they've had games in between, and I know it's a busy period, but loads of them had, the majority of Wednesday off. Loads of them are coming in with fresh legs. Not all of them can have that excuse, and I just thought to be that off it from the start, it's getting to the point now where the goalkeeper bails them out at a point yesterday about half an hour in with that save, and then in another world the way the VAR has been, that penalty could just get given. You know, you have no confidence that that's going to get ruled out another week, and you're a goal behind even earlier. So, you know, it has to stop. They need to be better from the beginning in these games, because, you know, it will catch them out, I think, at some point.
The best time, I think, always think, Neil, to be harsh about them, is when they've won. I think it's easier because obviously we all feel great. As Andy says, you get the let off. I mean, I don't care where anyone was watching it. It was spectacular in the Red Lion, let alone the away end. You know, it was genuinely memorable. So you get that moment, you get the release. We had all of that yesterday. But I do, to a lot of Paddy's point there, I do feel as though they're going to have to find ways to improve. It's the end of a long week. We know it is. Paddy's right. Also, the manager could pick more fresh legs as well. I will point that out. He doesn't choose Elliott or Jones from the off. He makes that call himself. And as I say, for 75 minutes, they only really, I thought, Van Dijk and Alisson rose above it for the first 75 minutes of the match.
Yeah, I was surprised with some of the selections because, we almost got a game that I expected in many ways. The third game in 7 days, 12:30 kickoff. Weather looked atrocious, which again is something you can only say after you've won, so it's not a pathetic excuse. Obviously, high winds, rain was pouring down. But I saw the lineup, and there was a few players there who I think currently are best served from the bench. Gravenberch being one of them. Because I'm not sure if it's a fitness thing with him particularly at the moment, but I thought we would bring in fresh legs in terms of Curtis Jones and, as you say, the energy of Elliott. We didn't see that. I asked Endo to go again. I thought for large parts of that first half, it was just how slow we were to every decision. Nothing was being done quickly enough for my liking. It didn't have the tempo or the intensity that I wanted to see. And Palace, we knew they were going to be a difficult opponent, but they were funneling everything down the centre. There was no width, particularly on the right-hand side. We have the three players on the right, Trent, Szoboszlai and Salah, all looking to come in all the time. So it was obvious that we weren't able to stretch what is one of the smaller pitches in the league. And it just became very frustrating very quickly. And I think after about maybe 20 minutes where I thought we were okay, over the next sort of 10, 15, I just thought, this is going to be one of those terrible days for us at the office.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And it's, I think, on Paddy's point, with regards to these tricky away games, where we give these teams so much encouragement, a crowd like Palace, who, by the way, for all rules about how you should be at 12:30 go out the window with them. They were great as well, and they always are great. And it's worth saying there's never any issue when you go down there. There's never any singing about all the nonsense that we hear at Anfield week in, week out. They just get behind their own team. They're brilliant. There's no issues in the divide, and just like generally a really pleasant place to go. I love the ground. Just really enjoyed the day in general. Post 2 p.m, I should say. But I think, you look at the fixtures we have left away from home, and, listen, your top six, Brighton and Villa, are the games where a point is no disaster. Teams are going to go there, or rivals are going to go there. They're going to drop points in those games. Then you've got sort of the bottom 3 or 4. But in terms of the away games that are left this season, we've got Burnley, Bournemouth, Brentford, Forest, Everton, Fulham, West Ham, and that's sort of not pushing Europe, but probably not going to be down right at the bottom either. And those are the games that concern me slightly in terms of title race. I think we'll beat everyone at home, more or less. I think give or take a stinker or a draw here or there, I think we'll beat everyone at home. I think we'll beat the real dross away. But those are the games where, as I say, it seems like we are always going 1-0 down. It seems like we're slow out of the blocks. It seems like the team selection is not quite right, or we always need to change it off the bench. And I think it might just be worth getting that right from the start, because you can't afford to throw in too many of those. At some point, the Elliott shot is going to hit the post and go out, and you drop points. At some point, Wolves are going to be 2 or 3-0 up rather than missing the chances, and we're going to drop points there. So we've got away with it a couple of times now, and we need to really sort of think about what we're going to do in these games to take control of it from the start and make sure we get these points comfortably.
There's something with them, Paddy, where I want to be really clear about this, because what they've shown is unbelievable character in adversity over the course of the season. Unbelievable. From so many of them, and different players have stepped up at different times when that adversity's been there. So this is a bit of a funny sentence in that I think when there's a little bit of adversity, I don't think they've been very good. When there's a load of adversity, they've really stood up to it. But in that first 20 minutes, I think the key word that's being used is frustrating. And I think they get frustrated with themselves, they get frustrated with each other, and the performance just erodes. It just gets worse. They don't start very well, and then by 25, it's almost like every under-hit pass means that the next one will be worse again. And I think that's that's an oddness with this side at the minute. I think there's elements at times where I'm watching them and I feel a bit like you're all doing your own heads in and you're doing each other's heads in, and that's why this is getting worse, not better.
Yeah, and I think at times as well, I think some of them want it a bit easy in them games, first 10-15. I think they want to ease their way into it. I think we're doing something that's like really annoying me at the moment in the middle of the pitch, where it's just really congested and they all seem to want to take it off each other's toes with these really short passes. But you're walking a tightrope there because it only takes one of them to not be on it or then to nick it back, and then they've got a switch on there or they've got a break.
And all your midfielders are wrong side.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, on a wider point, we might come on to talking about individuals, but I've got a bit of a problem with the shape at the minute in terms of what we're trying to do with Trent and things like this, because I don't think it's helping us at all starting off in them games, how congested the middle of the pitch is, that they want it to be that way, and then we're putting all our best players right there, and then wondering why we're not stretching the pitch, wondering why we're not getting the ball out wide, wonder why we can't seem to make a chance, and it's because everyone's stood on each other's toes and they're directly in the middle of the pitch.
It's inhibiting Szoboszlai, isn't it?
But yeah,
you can see the Trent move is inhibiting Szoboszlai in his game. I think that's grown as the season's gone on.
But that's my biggest problem with it. I think is, I think we can have a wider chat about Trent in midfield, but I think the people who support that idea, I think what they sort of envisage him to be is, in my opinion, what Szoboszlai is. And so I think for me, it's one or the other, or you just tell him to play right back and play behind them, because I just don't think you're getting the best out of either of them when they're both in each other's way. I think they are your two best, the most gifted footballers on the side. So when they're just, I don't need them playing 2-yard passes to each other and taking off each other's toes. I need one of them to put a really good quality cross into the box, or one of them in space beating a fullback. And I just don't think you're getting any of that. I just think we need to be smarter first 15 and help each other out a bit more and think about it, because people talk yesterday about Endo struggling a little bit, and I understand that in a sense, but also like if you're playing football in that game, you can quite clearly see that he's the one that they're choosing to press. He's the one that they think we can nick it off. And I just think a couple of times we're giving them the ball in areas where you think, lads, just switch the play. You're not helping him out here at all. I thought he actually done all right. I think, a lot was made of him being hooked at half time. I don't think it was that. I think he played full game midweek, and I think they wanted to change it a little bit. I actually thought he did all right. He's always available for that little bounce pass to pop it back off to someone else. But also he was quite clearly the one that they decided, he's the one we can get the ball off. And I just don't think we helped each other out, with that.
Yeah, I think the greatest example of that, Paddy, was the first penalty.
Yeah,
when we give him it in the mad area, and I know like there's managers. Mourinho always goes on about how much he hates that pass into the six. Because it's such an easy one to press, and sort of if you don't get it right, unless you have like a top level midfielder there's a good chance the ball's going to be turned over, and obviously that happens, and we get away with it. And it is a foul, by the way. It is a foul. We don't get away with it in a lucky sense, but we do in the sense that like it probably wasn't the right ball to play. I think on Endo, if you do look at that side, and especially that midfield these days, you absolutely are gonna target him. And they know that we're not going to bypass Endo. We are going to try and play it through him. We are going to try and progress our way up the pitch. We're not going to go long. We're not going to play 40, 50-yard passes all the time. It's just not our game. And I think absolutely he's brilliant to come in and do a job, and I have no issue with him starting these games. There's no issue with him starting 10 to 15 league games this season if we have to do it, and playing in the cups. I think his level's probably, I would say, around, maybe this is being a bit harsh on him, around Lucas post-injury, where was Lucas post-injury good enough to play 38 games in the league season to win us a league and get us far in the Champions League? No. Would he have fitted into this current side over the last 4 or 5 years, backing up Fabinho and giving him a rest here and there? Probably yes, we could have kept that level, and that's absolutely fine. He's not the quickest in the world, he's not the best in the ball in the world, but he's also not the worst, or even in the worst half of the defensive midfielders in the league, on either of those counts either. So, there are going to be some games where he's going to frustrate us. He moves it quickly, sometimes too quickly. Sometimes the quality and the accuracy of the pass isn't quite there, but I don't think he's going to be an issue for us.
But I think as well, if I'm Endo, I'm just saying to the lads in front of me, if you go 1-0 up or 2-0 up, my life's so much easier here. And like it's not his job to create a chance for Liverpool or score a goal. So by no means did I think he was the issue first half. I think one thing we are lacking, and I think it can come from other areas, but I think we really do miss Robertson in terms of getting us up the pitch. Andy talked there about the passing to the six. So often when Robertson plays, there's that Van Dijk ball over to him because he's so high up the pitch because he's quick. And I think you miss that ball out, and I also think you just miss him getting the ball, playing a 1-2, and before you know it, he's carried the 30 yards.
I think what you miss him gluing the left side together, and that's what you miss. Is I think he propels that left side, Paddy, so well. And I'm looking at them there; they all feel to me, Tsimikas, Gravenberch, and Diaz yesterday. They all felt like three individuals. There's no, all three of them managed to be an island, and I was a bit like, well, that's odd because you're all on the one flank. How are all three of you doing this?
They all also really like a touch,
yeah.
Whereas Robertson's really good at getting it out his feet and either popping it off or getting a cross in. Whereas, they've all got the qualities, but they very much like having the ball at the feet for an extended period of time. And I think in them games when you're trying to transition, you're just asking to be pressed and get the ball taken off you. Gravenberch I thought he was poor yesterday. Let's have it right. I think he's really impressed in some games, but I did think he struggled yesterday. And I think his dribbling style and the way he plays, it's got its advantages, but also, I always think he does that Mane thing where he takes that extra touch, and then sometimes when he's at his best, you think the defender's going to get it and he nicks it away. But yesterday, every time he took that extra touch, it seemed like they were just getting the ball back off him, and then you could do with your 8s away from home, keeping the ball a bit better than that, and also sustaining an attack, because I'm not expecting every time we go forward for us to carve out a perfect chance, but as soon as it breaks down, I want us to keep them penned in their half and start again. I think we really struggled to just keep that cycle going yesterday. As soon as an attack broke down, it seemed to be like another 2, 3, 4 minutes before we were ever trying that again.
It's the connections between them, and it's the connections between them and other teammates as well, so that you can see that there's not that same understanding between Tsimikas and Diaz, and it just doesn't function in the same way when we attack down the left with those two. But also, I don't think Núñez and Salah have got some brilliant combinations. They always look for each other, they always find each other, but I'm just not seeing that on the opposite flank between Diaz and Núñez. And sometimes they're picking up the same positions and they're making the same runs. There was one, I think, in the first half where Salah whips the cross across and they've both gone to the far post.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, Núñez presumably has got to go near post. They've got to vary it up. And so I guess that front three, which is a bit's been made of the fact that we've obviously scored 4 at home against Fulham and none of them have scored. The 3 of them started again yesterday. They've not scored. Didn't score midweek, although Núñez was off the bench, wasn't he, midweek?
Yeah.
But I guess they've not played a vast amount of football together as a 3. But this is the first time they've almost had a little enforced run of it, with Jota being injured, with them all being available, and with Núñez emerging as more of a starter. I don't think the balance is quite right at the moment with those 3.
I think as well, on the point we're making about the cohesiveness, especially in the left-hand side, I agree Robertson's a massive part of that, but I also think just in general, Jones is a massive part of that as well. I think he knits things together so well. And I agree with what's been said, and don't get me wrong, I think Gravenberch has probably a higher ceiling than Jones, and that's not to say Jones doesn't have a high ceiling. I just think Gravenberch is going to be a genuine superstar for us. But my goodness, could we do with a bit of Jones for a couple of games now? Just someone who can get the foot on the ball, progress us up the pitch, but then also once we're up 5-10 yards up the pitch, keep a hold of it, get a nice pass in, which gets us a bit of control. It feels Gravenberch every time at the minute he's trying to do what he's brilliant at, which is the gliding past Rodri at Man City and leading up to the Trent goal, the sort of just gliding past other midfielders at ease, leaving them in his wake. And he is great at that, but unfortunately, that's not always on. Sometimes the space isn't there. Sometimes the time of the game, it's just get the foot on it, get it backwards. Let's get a control of this. Let's take the sting out of it a little bit. I think we can just do with a little bit of Jones while Gravenberch gets his mojo back, sort of gets his head back on his shoulders, and starts making those right decisions again. And with Robertson, Tsimikas just at the minute, he's trying to do this thing where every time he just gets it out of his feet and gets a cross in. And that's fine because he is quite good at that. But similar to what I was just saying about Gravenberch, it's not always on. Sometimes it's just a 5-yard pass backwards. Sometimes it's rebuild. And Robertson's great at making that decision right away. He knows, he scans the pitch, he sees what's in front of him, he sees who's on in the box. And if it's nothing or if it's not on, it's a 5-yard pass backwards and we rebuild. Where Tsimikas either doesn't do that, or by the time he's made the decision, somebody's on him straight away because he just doesn't have that same speed of thought as Robertson. I think that's what we're struggling with at the minute on the left-hand side, bit of decision making.
Other thing to point out, Paddy, to the point around the way in which we play and the way in which we're set up, I would say their 4 strongest players, certainly their 2 strongest players in general, are the 2 centre-halves. And I would argue that yesterday their 4 strongest performers are the 2 centre-halves, plus Lerma and Hughes. I think, and that to me is, the playing Joel Wardy's 33 at right back. And Diaz gets him booked quite early.
And then we didn't go at me again.
Sorry.
And then we didn't go at me again.
And also you get to see Ward. Ward can be rash. If Salah doesn't score, it's a penalty, and it's probably his second yellow around the Jones area. Similarly, the other side's Klein. And we know Klein's, solid enough. But you'd also think we can get at him. In front, you're not quite sure about Schlupp. Willen again. Ayew, ends up getting himself sent off, and he can win a free kick anywhere on the pitch. To me, when you actually just think about that, we were continually going into the teeth of their strongest area. And then what was happening was Will Hughes was getting better and better. I think I think Elliott's man of the match because of everything he does when he comes on, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But in a reading where you can't have the sub who happens to score the winner, there's every chance Will Hughes is man of the match. But we almost put Will Hughes' performance on a plate for him. We go, here's a series of battles. All we want you to do is win them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes back to my earlier point about a lack of width, really, because we've mentioned there about missing Robertson on one side, so that's why I'm strongly in the camp of can Trent please play right back for a little bit, because it wasn't too long ago he was getting 15, 16 assists from right back, and in games like that sometimes when you just need to stretch the play, you can put a really good cross in the box. Loads of them 15, 16 assists that he was getting in a league season come from sometimes just whipping a ball in. A striker's 6'4", stood in the box, and he's not getting too many chances at the minute. There's a little bit of a worry about Núñez at the minute. I think he's brilliant. I love him to bits, but it is December and he scored 4 league goals, and 2 of them were in the last 20 minutes at Newcastle. And you can talk about all the chances he's missed and things like that, but for me sometimes it's that he's not. A lot of the chances he seems to get, barring like some of the glaring misses, sometimes it's just him doing something, whereas I don't think we're actually creating enough chances for him. He doesn't score enough headers for Liverpool, Núñez. Why is Trent not getting wide and sticking the ball in? I just think we're doing something at the moment, which is, I understand the back end of last season why we started this inverted fullback thing. We didn't have much legs in the midfield. It really helped Fabinho out, and I also think as much as the legs in the middle of the park, I think people talked about that with Fabinho and Henderson. I actually think the quality on the ball really dropped off massively last season with them two. So I understood why you'd put Trent in the middle of the pitch. Now I'm just looking at it and thinking you've signed 4 midfielders in the summer, so I'm no tactician. I understand there might be a logic of having an extra man in there sometimes, but I also think loads have been made of Gomez's performance, and rightly so. I thought it was great, but I just think it helped having a right back there. And there was times Gomez was getting in, and I thought if that was Trent putting the ball in the box, I think we'd find it much easier to score goals. I think there needs to be a conversation had, and I think includes the people who want him in midfield, and also I think the coaching staff, because I don't think they've quite nailed down what they want to do with him. Because if you see him as a 6 and you want him to play as a 6, you're not getting that goal often against Fulham, because he's not playing 6 in that game. They go 4 in the middle. He's playing in a 2, and how often is your 6 popping up there? On the edge of the box like that. So if you want all the Royal over stuff from him, he's going to have to play as an 8. And you spent 70 million on Szoboszlai, who I think is what people talk about, like the De Bruyne comparison with Trent. For me, that's more like the higher ceiling there with Szoboszlai. But also De Bruyne does most of his best work out wide and has done for years as well. I'm really struggling with what we're trying to do with that. And that and I think the coaching staff really need to decide what they're doing with it, because I think like I've said in these games, that they want in the middle of the park. Will Hughes is a decent player. Lerma's a good player. They've got legs. They don't want Trent in space out wide.
Do you think, Paddy, it can be like a little bit of both that he can do? Because at the moment he's coming into midfield. He's playing, starting off at right back. When we get the ball, every single time he's going into the midfield, and as you say yesterday, he's congesting it. It's literally every single time. I don't really see why we can't vary it up a little bit.
What it makes me think, Andy, is it reminds me of this, and it's so weird, and it's sort of probably in loads of ways a conversation about the direction of travel of football, but it sort of reminds me of 20 years ago, there was part of me that always wanted there to be a player, especially off the front, who had a bit of a free role. And the thing with that was, when that player played well and when the game went in their general direction, they looked amazing. And then when it doesn't go well, you're like, hang on, why isn't he doing all the stuff that I'd like him to do? Yeah, and I think that's one of the things here, as I almost feel as though we all think flexibility is inherently good. But I think, Paddy, at times, I think you can flexible yourself into not having the sort of rigidity that allows you to be strong in a difficult away game, if you see what I mean. And I wonder at times if that's bits of what we end up seeing yesterday.
Yeah, and like on the Trent point, what is playing well? Because by most people's standards, he's having a good season and he's playing well in this inverted role. But he's got 2 assists in the league, and one of them was a corner on Wednesday night. So the output's not exactly there in terms of what you'd expect from him. And if you're playing, and if you want to play him as a number 6 permanently, you're losing 15 to 20 assists from your right back. So that's my point with it. Is really, and like you said, in tough away games, I think you can overcomplicate it a bit. That they want it congested in the middle of the pitch. They don't want you stretching them. They don't want the biggest strengths are the 2 centre halves. But they didn't have a tough game yesterday at all. Nunes can be a pest, but they didn't give them much trouble at all yesterday because he's just not getting any saves. Just say mate, if Jota was playing there or whoever, Jota's great in the air. I just think we're missing at the moment, especially with no Robertson, and then the fact that Trent doesn't. I agree with what Andy said. I think he could do a bit of both, but he just doesn't seem to ever want to do it. He's got no interest playing right back. As soon as we've got the ball, I sit on that side of the cop when attacking the cop end, and he's never pulling wide when there's loads of space there. I mean, I'm sure it's an instruction.
Yeah,
but I do struggle with it.
I was going to say I think it's definitely more instruction rather than what he wants to do. I think the idea of playing Trent in the position you currently play him, using him as you currently use him now, is like, in an ideal world, you get him a bit of space, sort of 30 yards from goal, where you can play that cross to the back post, or you can have a shot, or he can just generally use his quality, and that's great. And if we get him in that position enough, he will get assists and he will get goals. However, as Paddy says, when he played right back, he got 15-20 assists from right back positions as well. And whether that was just sort of cutting inside a little bit when we sort of had Henderson occupying the wide areas and Trent coming a bit inside where you're more likely to get an assist from across, it feels like we're losing that, and we're sort of swapping that for what we're getting now. And what he was getting, as we say, was 10-15 assists from that position. So to swap that out, are we saying he's going to get sort of 20-25 from the position he currently is? I'm just not seeing that right now. I'm not seeing a world in which that's happening. So I don't see why there can't be a world in which sometimes he comes inside, sometimes he just sort of plays right back, because he can sort of get assists from and get crosses in from both places and keep them guessing as much as anything else. The game plan for Trent right now, okay, he's a brilliant player, but you know exactly what he's going to do at every stage of the game, and that's the most frustrating thing. And it could be what Paddy's saying, the solution could be what Paddy's saying in putting him into the 8, where De Bruyne does get into those areas, and he sort of does a little bit of both. Loads more you need to consider before you think about his suitability to play that position. We've never really... Have we only really ever seen him with that game away to Chelsea at the end of 2016, was it? Where it didn't really matter. He played there and I wasn't particularly great. So I really, you'd need to really sit down and think about whether he's suited to that position. But from the point of view of where he can get the cross into the pitch and varying it up, I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Feels like the summer of 2005-06 here.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Steven Gerrard, aren't we?
And again, free rolls versus not free rolls, coming off a flank to cut inside versus not doing that. Happier behind the front, player maybe wants to play somewhere else, so on and so forth.
Just scored 20-odd goals and got about 20 assists playing on the right wing. And as we've all mentioned there, 3 or 4 years ago, by now you'd expect Robertson and Trent to be approaching double figures in assists by this stage of the season. I mean, they were on like an insane race against each other every year for assists. I thought when Trent moved in field in spring, I think there was a flurry of games where he did contribute in terms of goals and assists. And I thought at the start of this season, I was asked at work predictions, and I was like, Trent Alexander-Arnold will get 20 plus assists, because that was how I thought the season was going to pan out. But then as the weeks have gone by, and we've seen how it has in fact unfolded, I do think he started the season not at his best, but even the last few weeks where I think we can all say he's been playing some brilliant football.
I think he's played really well, and that's why I think this conversation.
Yeah, that's what's important. Opening couple of minutes yesterday, he plays a cross-field ball that if any other player in the league played it, your jaw would drop. But Trent just does it all the time, so you just expect it.
You take it for granted. A couple of them you take for granted so much.
And so I think what we're all focusing on is how can we eke the absolute most out of this generational one-off unique talent. And so that's why I think it's going to be a cause of so many debates. But I just kept watching this yesterday, just thinking nobody's getting wide of Salah. Nobody's given us that option, and Henderson obviously would just do that time and time again, make almost like a thankless, fruitless run, but then it helped the attack. And sometimes you think, well, you just wish you could get Trent into those positions because his delivery is so impressive. And Gomez, again, made such a big impact just by being a functional right back, running the line.
Running beyond Salah,
And how much better would Trent be in that same role? As good as Gomez was yesterday, Trent can do all those things and more.
For me, if you played him in midfield, I think you're going 4-4-2. I'm playing him. If you want to use him in the middle of the park, I don't think I'm not sure about the 8 thing.
No,
I think you lose
when
I
said the 8, I don't think he should play there.
I think
when people talk about this idea that he could be like Gerrard and stuff, and I just think, well, he's got to play 8 there then because your number 6 isn't getting you 10, 15 goals.
No, that's what I think. I think it's a double pivot. I think it's got to be changing the shape. I think you're saying it's 4-4-2. I think if you want him to start and end games in midfield, then I think he needs someone who's sitting next to him, and I think that also you need therefore who's going to make the pitch massive for you. You need wide players,
but you also need
you
also need a really good right back who's going to replace them numbers. And I don't want to sound like I'm slaughtering him. I love him to bits, but I just think if he's playing in midfield and double pivot like that, it's essentially a different sport playing number 6, and he's not a young kid. He's like 25, 26. He's played elite level Premier League football now for like 6-7 seasons. So I think people sometimes talk about that change as if it's like seamless. Like getting the ball with your back to goal is like another sport. Like if you ever played football and never played in that position, when you're receiving the ball back to goal on the half turn, it's completely different having someone right on your shoulder straight away like that rather than the game being in front of you, which he's had for so long. And listen, I don't doubt he's got the ability to have made that switch at 18, 19, but he didn't do it. He decided to get him in the team at right back and have the game in front of him. So at 25, 26 to just say now you're holding midfield player it's something I think.
Yeah, we'll be positive. Let's accentuate some positives. The key thing is you get to have a goalkeeper, Andy, and I think that sometimes that is forgotten. You get to have a goalkeeper, and if you have the best one, you can maybe take a couple more risks that other sides wouldn't do. And he is just the best one. The conversation for me is not best in the league. I would even argue it's probably not best in the world. It's where he is in the pantheon of all-time goalkeepers, and he proves it on the big stage, and he also proves it at Selhurst Park.
There's 2, I think, standout saves from that game that spring to my mind, and I think the first one in the first half is the one that everyone will talk about because it's so spectacular, and I think it actually hits the post, doesn't it? Comes back out, but in the ground it looked like he'd clawed it back after the second one and got straight back up. Either way, just to make the first save was sensational. It's not right in the corner, but I think it's that thing. And I used to always think when Liverpool played against, or when any team played against Courtois when he was at his peak at Chelsea, where, do you remember that League Cup semi-final game where we had so many chances, but we had to put every single one in the top corner if you were going to beat him? And he was in our heads. And I think that's the thing with Alisson. That he's
I'd argue he's his only competition, by the way, globally. I mean, Ederson with his feet is another level, don't get me wrong. But in terms of literally having a lot of those gifts and stopping the ball going into the back of the net, I think Courtois is his only competition.
And I think, in future, when players get into the position that I think was it Mateta gets into for that first chance yesterday, I think they'll know they have to stick it right in the top corner. And okay, sometimes they will, but sometimes they'll just start missing ridiculous chances like we did that night at Chelsea because Courtois was in goal. It's an unbelievable save. He does just about enough, and as I say, if it didn't hit the post, I think he would have got it anyway because he's up straight away. He's not down there feeling sorry for himself, giving himself a pat on the back. He's up right away, and it was just unbelievable, and it was spectacular. The one right at the end from Anderson won't get anywhere near the same sort of praise, but that is just outrageous what he does there. The amount of goalkeepers in the league that palm that up into the roof of the net because it bounces just in front of him. It's so hard to judge where that ball is going to bounce when it bounces just in front of you, especially with a powerful header from a good player from what must only be about 10 yards out. It's a sensational save. I thought straight away, when Anderson got his head to the ball in that position, I thought that's in.
Anderson's reaction to that one, you might not have seen it being in the ground, but at the end of the game when they're showing them go off the pitch, Anderson's like talking to him as if to be like, have you saved that? Because he must have just thought, I make a good enough connection with that close to goal. It does everything that you'd expect, a centre half to do there. Heads it down, on target. You just assume that's going in. Sure, when that left his head and then he saved that, and he must have been thinking like, I wonder if he done it. But my favourite thing about Alisson is, how much he seems to enjoy the actual making them saves. Like he gets up and there's none of this other thing that other goalkeepers do. And I'm sure it's about concentration and things like that where they have a go at the defence, but he seems to get up and they're all in awe of him, patting him on the back and stuff. And he's like, no, that's fine. Yeah, well then we'll keep going, as if he's like, this is my job. That's what I'm here for. And he sort of exudes that confidence to the rest of them, as if to be like, well, we've got Ali behind us. No matter what happens, he'll be confident to save it.
There was one away at Forest last season, I think it was, when we were terrible day. But there was a save he made at Forest. Do you remember where their player just had his head in his hands afterwards, and everyone in the ground just had a look of shock on their face, and that's what he elicits week in, week out. He's just such a standard above all the statistics in terms of the goals he's prevented, having miles out in front of every keeper in the league, and in terms of the goals he stopped going in. like you said, he's so determined. It's none of it's like for show. It's none of the histrionics of shouting at the defence, like you say. None of the sort of Jordan Pickford getting pumped up, whatever. He just celebrates his work and then goes back at it, straight at it. He's had a couple of rickety moments in terms of playing out, I think, because of the way we play. So at City, he comes in for a little bit of criticism where he slips when he kicks it. But then equally, last season we beat Man City because he slips when he kicks it and manages to get that ball straight to Salah. And that's his style. I think he gives us such an edge, and it was such a relief to see him on the team sheet yesterday because I didn't expect it. I knew there was talk in the press conference that he was ahead of schedule and he could be back, but I still thought, perhaps it'll be one more week. Him and Virgil van Dijk, I think, are the rock this last few weeks that our results have been based on, because we haven't been playing free-flowing football. It's not been vintage by any stretch of imagination, but those two, being at the absolute peak of their powers, I think has seen us over the line in the last month.
See, right at the end of the game, I don't know if you guys, if it was shown on the TV, Nunez goes straight over to Alisson and jumps on him, full weight of his body on him, and I was just thinking, please may his hamstring be okay.
Yeah, can we take him off the pitch in a wheelbarrow right now, please?
I screamed at Nunez.
Injuring a teammate, about the only thing he hasn't done yet.
Would be quite spectacular. Let's talk about Elliott, Neil. It's so bright. I mean, that's the first thing about it. And that's what you've seen often through the season when he's come on. So bright. So much where the opposition don't want him. I think this is another sort of major aspect of this as well. Finds himself all the way through, gets the goal, which is, obviously incredible. But it's such a good substitute performance. It's backed up by Curtis Jones as well, who I think plays ever so well when he comes on. But there's playing ever so well, and then there's having the sort of impact that Elliott has, and it's a relentless impact.
Yeah, I thought all the substitutes improved us yesterday. I thought we had started to play a little bit better with Gomez coming on at half time. I thought Gakpo looked bright when he came on and immediately got himself involved. But then the double change, Jones and Elliott, obviously they're both pivotal to the victory. Elliott, I love how switched on he is in that he immediately makes an impact when he comes off. There's no warming up. There's no get himself used to the climate of the game. He's straight at it. He is involved all over the pitch. He's picking the ball up here, there and everywhere. I think there was some analysis on Match of the Day last night where they were talking about how he constantly gave us that extra option when they were down to 10 men. He always was the extra man moving into the area so that they just didn't have an option. They couldn't cover everybody, so he could then receive the pass. And I love the fact that he finally capped it off with a goal that some of his performances this season have deserved, because it's been one thing that's frustrated me. There's been a number of games this season where I thought he's been one of the best players, if not the best player on the pitch. Certainly in the Europa League, he's really shone for me. And then in front of goal, he's maybe lost a little bit of composure, and he's always so desperate sometimes to get it onto his left, isn't he? And sometimes you think, come on, if you'd hit that with your right, you probably would have buried it. So the finish is beautiful. And I love that he gets that moment with the fans as well. Really been. I think he's really been taken to the hearts of the fan base. I think we've always backed him. He's a player who's always had the support. He's been through obviously the long layoff with the injury. Still such a young player with such a high ceiling so far to go. You talked about ceilings earlier. Where is his? I don't know. I mean, obviously in terms of physicality, he's never going to be the biggest. He's never going to be the strongest or the quickest. But his speed of thought is just unbelievable. And as I say, the way you get the impression that he sat watching the game in the stands thinking, this is how I'm going to impact this game. This is where I'm going to make my difference. And then he does it. I think
he just, in these games just come on, I think he seems to just make it makes more sense when he's on the pitch, and I was critical of him last season, so I didn't think I'd be saying this, but I think it really helps having another left footer. I think you can't underestimate how much that offers a balance to the side and I just think when he's on the pitch, him and Salah have always sort of had that relationship where there's a bit of a link up there, but I just think he makes things make a lot of sense, and in a game like that where you're chasing the game, they're going to be sat in. I just think someone he's very certain on the ball. I think you back him to not give it away much, especially around the penalty area, and sort of do the sensible thing. I'm like you. I'm not massive on shots, but as soon as he took that ball on, I was desperate for him to have a go at that keeper, because he'd just come on. He's quite clearly not a very good goalkeeper, and I thought if we don't get some shots off here, it's a real missed opportunity. It is a great strike, and not to criticise, but it's not exactly in the corner. It's just well struck.
It's got a nice dip on it.
Yeah, in an area where And no, made up for him. I think I think he's making a real case to start the game now. Just we spoke earlier in the show about how we're starting these games and how we can be a bit loose in possession. I think he sorts a lot of that out, Elliot. I think he would just keep the ball for you. I think he'd keep teams pen back. Like I said, I think that left foot thing means you've got a different option there and different dynamic to the side. And no, honestly, I was made up for him. I think it's probably his first big moment like that. I know he gets the Wolves clincher to make it 3-1, doesn't he? But like to go and win a game for Liverpool, like that's a big thing for anyone. So made up for him, and he stepped up at the right time.
I was coming out of the ground, obviously highly emotional after the game yesterday, but it now sounds a little bit hyperbolic, but I was literally talking about that as one of the all-time best Liverpool substitute performances. Even before his goal, I felt like everything he did turned to gold, more or less. I think I
saw it was 100%.
Didn't give it away.
Yeah, 100% completed passes, something like 31 passes.
And it's not as if he was just giving it 5 yards, to keep his possession stats up. He was taking the game to them. He was just so sharp and incisive in everything he did. I can't remember which one he's mentioned. Just, coming, picking up the ball in short areas. It was that short pass, but when he received the pass, the little burst to get away, he's got that little bit of explosive pace. I don't think he's winning any races over 50 yards. But like Mane, he's that little bit of explosive pace to get himself away. I thought he did that so well and just found space where none of our midfielders were able to find space or were sharp enough to find space across that game. And I don't know whether that's because some of them, like maybe Szoboszlai, have been a bit overplayed, especially in internationals. Gravenberch's obviously finding his feet. McAllister in the position, but Elliott just feels right now he just gives us that burst of energy when he comes onto the pitch that nobody else has really given us. I completely agree with your point, Neil, about the getting out on the left foot. He does do that a little bit too much in those Europa games, and the fans can get frustrated with him, and it's really annoying because it's like, well, have you not seen all this great stuff that he's done in those games as well? Not just the getting out on the left foot or the taking.
I hope the goal settles him, and around goal. I hope the goal settles him. I think if there's a thing, if you were to speak to him and say to him, what do you think you need to improve on? I think he'd be saying, I need to be sticking it in the back of the net a bit more. He's got one now, and he's got a big one. So I really hope the goal settles him, Andy, and he does feel the fluency to take it when it comes. Go early. If you've got to hit it with your right foot and you miss, it's absolutely fine, mate. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Another chance will come in a minute because you're a good player.
I think just mentally last season, that must have been so tricky for him. He must have been questioning everything, and listen, he was a bit of a scapegoat. Scapegoat's the wrong word because his performances weren't great last season when he was starting, but he was sort of all we had there. I don't think we expected Fabinho and Henderson's
Plays a lot of games, yeah.
Plays a lot of games. I don't think we expect the midfield to fall off as much as it does. All of a sudden, there's loads of pressure on him. He's getting loads of stick. I'm sure he's doubting himself after the injury. Am I the same player as I was after the injury? That'll have been in his head. But this season, I think you're saying he's getting enough starts in the Cups. He's progressing enough in the Cups to show that he can be a starter in the future. And right now, his role in the league is coming off the bench and giving us a little bit more energy, and he's doing that, doing absolute tea. He's been superb off the bench this season in the league.
Right now is Colin from Liverpool Football Therapy speaking to John Gibbons. Then we'll be back to talk about the bigger picture.
And it is John Gibbons for the Anfield Wrap. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Colin from the Liverpool Football Therapy. Colin, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So to start off, obvious question, tell us a little bit more about Liverpool Football Therapy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. The programme itself was launched back in 2019. It was following my own personal experience of mental ill health, and a lot of my recovery and coping mechanisms were really aided by becoming involved with Everton and Community's Imagine Your Goals programme, which is specifically for Merseycare service users. I wanted to sort of do my own thing, but I wanted to open the doors to people who were maybe waiting on NHS waiting lists for a diagnosis, waiting to get prescriptions, waiting to see psychiatrists, all sorts. Ours is immediate, there's no referral required, you don't even have to have a diagnosis. It's for anyone who's, any adult that is affected by any form of mental ill health or simply poor mental well-being. As well as we have a number of people that have come along because they've been socially isolated for quite some time as well. And we know that the knock-on effect of that can be detrimental to their mental well-being. So it's we host 2 sessions every week. It's just a 5-6-a-side kickabout. We have one goals in Speak every Tuesday from 7:30. Very, very popular, and we have another one on a Wednesday night. Again, goals, but this time in Netherton from 7 o'clock. As I say, no referral. Anyone that's feeling lonely, down, mentally unwell, waiting on a diagnosis, waiting to get some support. We're there ready to provide an opportunity, not just to play football, but it's an opportunity to meet other people who are on different levels or different stages of their own mental well-being journey, their own mental health journey. And each and every one of them, this is the fantastic thing about it, is some of them don't even realise it. They have to be reminded that they are the inspiration. It's each individual. They inspire everyone around them by sharing their own journey. We have a focus on 4 key areas, which is physical, mental, emotional and social well-being. And I think I can say hand on heart that every participant that's come through, was well in excess of 100 registered at the moment, every one of them would say that those 4 key areas are well and truly looked after, and they would tick the box to say that there's been some level of improvement in each and every one of them. We don't do anything special. It's just a case of getting together, having a kick about, having a laugh, a bit of banter, and then just being there for each other.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We have a little tagline that together we're stronger, and it's that unity is just so important. So for anyone that's living in Merseyside that may be struggling with a mental illness, or your mental well-being's not good, or you've had something happen in your life that you feel it could be detrimental to your mental well-being over a short or a long period of time, get down.
Yeah.
Get a pair of boots on and have a laugh. We don't keep scores. You know, we do play competitive football as well, as I'm sure you've seen online.
Yeah.
But generally, it's just about those 5 and 6 side kickabouts. The competitive football is something that's come about through, really, it's the determination and ambition of the participants. I'm not a glory hunter. I've had my time on the pitch, and I've had enough medals and trophies. I love seeing them win them, but it's not the be-all and end-all for me, for LFT. It's just about trying to improve their well-being.
Absolutely, and I've seen firsthand the way that you guys do, and
Yep.
you know, we've played you guys in tournaments and things like that.
Yeah.
And when you talked about the unity there, that's the thing that struck me when I come across you guys, is the camaraderie between the lads and the support that they offer each other. You know, it is great, really.
Yeah, there's this thing within any anything involved with the mental health sector. You have this genuine bond because you know what someone else has gone through because you've been there yourself, or it's something very similar. And I'm always saying to the guys and the girls, just look, if you want a bit of inspiration around here, ask him to tell you a story. He won't be ashamed in telling you. He won't hold back, or she won't hold back. People share those stories, and that's how the friendships are born. It's through that sharing. I've seen over the last 4 years, I've seen so many fantastic relationships develop from people that probably without LFT would never have even met each other, and now they're best mates.
Yeah.
And you really feel it as well. You feel that bond that they have together, the lads and the girls, and we may even have a marriage on the cards soon. But we've got a lads and a girl that have got together through our programme. Absolute rock solid relationship they're in as well. Two good eggs. They're great. We might have our first LFT wedding soon, so that's a shout out to Tom and Anna. That's a hint, Tom.
Get going.
Yeah. I do mention them quite a bit because I've not been to a wedding for a while.
See if the seat still fits and all that. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a special bond between all the participants. That's why it's very much focused on peer support. It's not the support I give to the people. Although I do a lot of one-to-ones and a bit of counselling away from being at the side of the pitch or away from matches. I'll see them socially as well, and I do go and visit people as and when they need to see me, and I'm just there sometimes just to put my arm around their shoulder or be a shoulder to cry on. Whatever they need, I'll be there for them. But 99% of the support comes from it comes from within the group.
Yeah.
We do have great relationships and contacts with various other support networks within the Merseyside community. We're always signposting people to the other services. most of them don't go because they get the support they need from the guy that they're either tackling or the guy and girl they're passing the ball to. So yeah, I don't have to do much. I really don't. I just have to make sure
the pitch.
That's it. Book the pitch. Make sure they've got some bibs and a ball. That's it. And I can just stand back and admire it. I absolutely love it. It's changed me as well. I'm developing as a person because of there's such a wide range of personalities, a wide range of complex issues as well with their own life, their background, and the journeys that they've been on. And some of the, although I'm very experienced within the world of mental health and mental illness, with my own experiences and my time in various hospitals, I'm learning something new about every other condition, the conditions that I've never experienced firsthand, but I'm getting to understand what makes them click and what little things we can do to help improve their lives and give them a better opportunity to have a better life in the future.
In terms of if people are watching and think, oh, I'd like to come down and maybe get involved, they can sense the struggle in which we all do at times, but they think, oh, I'm maybe not quite ready to share. I think sometimes it's just coming and joining in. And I know personally sometimes when I'm struggling with stuff, to be perfectly honest, just an hour where you're not thinking about it is sometimes nice and you just play. And,
well,
that's the start, isn't it?
But I don't expect everyone to share their story.
Yeah.
I don't even expect anyone to tell me that they're not feeling well. Just come along, get involved. For that 2 hours that you're at the pitch, and this is what I discovered when I first got back involved in football again. That was my relief and my release from life. I'd step on that, but as soon as I walked across that, as soon as I put my foot in that pitch, all I thought about was, don't get this wrong.
Yeah.
That was it. I was that way my whole life in football. Played football for umpteen teams all my life. But that one of joining the mental health programme for the first time, that stepping over, it was... I still recall how I felt after the very first five-a-side session I had with Everton in the community. I had 2 hours where the build-up to it, the anxiety was horrendous. Because I was terrified. One, are they all going to be younger, fitter and healthier and better at football than me? And then there was part of me thinking, is it the opposite way? Because I had no idea what this could be like. So I'm thinking, how ill are these people? Am I going to be sounds silly when I say it, and I think about it now, but I did think, am I going to be too good for this?
Yeah.
Because I have played at quite a high level, and I was a decent player. So there was that. It was such a wide range of abilities, ages, genders. It was all sorts. And for those first 2 hours, I did nothing but just concentrate on playing football. And I'll never forget, I walked home up Penny Lane from that first session, and I can't recall feeling as high about anything for years. And it was such a relief.
Yeah.
So for somebody to come along just to get involved, we're not expecting everyone to share their story. We just want you to go on the pitch and leave your baggage behind for a couple of hours. You can go back to it again if you need to. But hopefully what we'll do is we'll lighten the load over a period of time.
Yeah.
But those 2 hours is just a bit of football and a bit of banter, and no need to share. That'll all come in good time. When people hear other people sharing, that's when they start to open up. But it can take a few weeks or for some, a few months. But at the end of the day, it works. It's been proven to work. It worked on me, and I see it working every single week on other people. So it'll continue to work in the future, as long as we get the money in.
Well, that's what I want to come on to, because obviously if you feel like the service would benefit you and you want to come down and have a game of football and take a few things off your mind or lighten the load, as Colin says, then the services there would encourage people to get involved. It's a good gang of people, as I can attest to, because you played against them. But you know, if you're not in the area or you know, you're doing your own football journey at the moment that you're happy with, but you're thinking, this sounds like a fantastic thing. You guys do need a bit of help and financial support at the moment.
There's a couple of things that I want to get across. I know that a lot of people that were watching this don't come from Merseyside. But they may be struggling. Believe it or not, I've been involved with mental health football projects all over Europe for 12 years. if you are in Doncaster just now, you're in London, or you're in Aberdeen, and you're watching this, and you've got some struggle, you think this could be something for you, I will do my damnedest to find something on your doorstep, because I've got contacts all over the country. I used to run the Mental Health Football Association, so we're there for people, not just for me personally. I'll help anyone, but for anyone in Merseyside, get along, just enjoy it. The other thing is, we do need funding. We struggle from time to time. We are struggling just now. We've currently got a GoFundMe page for donations, and I know it's a horrible time of the year to be asking for money, but a couple of quids, it would really help. We've got a GoFundMe page. You can find that through our Twitter account or Facebook account, or our website should be up and running by the time this goes out as well. So there's a lot of information about us there anyway. But yeah, it'd be nice if somebody could. Be lovely. I'd love to find a sugar daddy. I don't know how you're supposed to find one of them, but I hear stories of people getting this. Somebody's just giving them loads of money to help them get going. If we had a sugar daddy, it'd be a sugar mummy. I'm not fussy. It'd be great, but just regularly bringing in a little donation here and there, it keeps us ticking over well. We're always applying for funding.
Yeah.
It's something I do. It feels like every week I have to put some time aside just to look for funding opportunities. That's an important side of it. But to the people watching and listening to this, the probably the most important part is getting you along, just getting you involved at some level. Just to have a kick about, and it doesn't matter what your ability level's like. I couldn't care less. I don't care if you've not even played football before. If you love football, you'll enjoy the banter and the company, because it's everything we do is football's the glue. That's what brings us on. It sticks us all together. Everything else that we do is a bonus, really. Everything's a bonus. It's just, football brings us together, and then the guys and girls look after themselves. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
It's fantastic work what you do. Like I say, I've seen it firsthand, so brilliant. So long may it continue. You can do that with your support by either getting down and obviously playing and supporting in that way, or like Colin says, it's a tough time for a lot of people, but if you can spare a few quid, or you are a sugar daddy or mommy, get on the GoFundMe. Yeah. We're going to be tweeting that out today as well, and hopefully be in the bio underneath as well. But if you can't find anything, just give me a shout, comments on Twitter as well. But thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much as well for the sponsorship for end of the year awards.
We put our money where our mouth was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's very much appreciated. Yeah, and it's great to be associated with yourselves as well.
Great.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
And we are back to talk about the bigger picture. The bigger picture in terms of where Liverpool's performances are at and where everyone else is. I watched through a slight haze, Neil, of the Arsenal-Aston Villa game. I think Arsenal end up not getting away with murder against Luton because they created a lot of chances, but it did go 3-2 and 3-3. They were hanging in, they get the late winner. I think they have hard lines against Villa. I think they actually play quite well under the circumstances. I think Villa play quite well as well. It's a game that gets defined by that first goal. Villa have everything to hang on to, and they've clearly put a lot in against City. Similarly, Arsenal are chasing the game, so they're finding themselves obviously creating that little bit more. So my point here is that whilst Liverpool have gone above Arsenal, I feel at the minute at least it's worth saying and having the graciousness to say, I feel Arsenal are in general playing well. I think Villa are playing well. I think Liverpool, it's brilliant that we've benefited from the dropping of the points. City should win today against Luton. There's an old, I think it's a Bob Paisley quote or a Joe Fagan quote. Look at us, top of the league with all these problems. It's a nice situation to be in on the one hand. On the other hand, just to the eye at the minute, I don't think we're necessarily playing the best football in the country, and there'll be a couple of challenges on the horizon around that.
Yeah, true. I do also think, though, as I mentioned earlier, it is the end of a long week where some injuries have started to affect the squad. Obviously the Joel Matip news is a huge blow, that he's not likely to feature again this season, and really terrible news. And it obviously means that we're going to have to rotate more in centre half. And then McAllister's absence, I thought, we've not really talked about it, but I thought was keenly felt yesterday, especially in the first half. For all the talk we've had about what McAllister does or doesn't bring in the six, we just didn't move it quickly enough. We weren't building well enough from the back. And I didn't think Endo had a terrible game by any stretch of imagination, but I did think you got to see what McAllister brings, certainly when it was absent. So we have had some issues around the squad in terms of fitness and availability. Obviously, our options have been a bit weakened with Jota being away as well. So we're in a very strong position, I'd say, with 2 or 3 of those players to come back. Certainly Jota, hopefully sooner than expected. We have so many options in attack that I think we're going to cause a lot of problems for teams, especially at Anfield. It's just on the road where my doubts still remain. I think yesterday, at times in that first hour, I was thinking maybe this is why we're not genuine title challengers, because we don't seem to have that ability to go away to the weaker sides in the league and just take the game to them and just dispatch them in the manner that you expect of Man City over the last few years. Man City, it seems, have an ability to go and score an early goal, score a second, and then manage the game. And that's not something this side have developed quite yet. But at the same time, the resilience and the mentality that no team other than Girona in the 5 major leagues in Europe have come back from losing positions to win, that's there for all to see. And I think
also, Neil, you say why I was thinking, there's something in this. Yeah. You also get to use your subs.
Yeah.
And that's, when you were so at the start of the game, I'm thinking, is this why maybe, it's not going to quite be there? And then by the end of the game, you're raving about one substitute performance, you're praising another 3 as saying that they had a really positive impact.
Yeah.
It's literally part of the game. You get to do that, and we get to do it, and we've been doing it well over the course of the campaign.
Yeah, all 5 subs impactful. I think Jurgen's really got to grips with substitutes. I think it used to be something that perhaps people were a little bit critical of, but certainly last few weeks, I think it's been brilliant the way he's used them. I think we're in a great position. I do watch Arsenal, and sometimes they don't create anywhere near as much as I'd expect them to.
Yeah.
But their defensive solidity has also surprised me to some extent.
Yeah, I think because of the 2 title races we've had with City where we've come out just the wrong side of, I think we're conditioned to believe we're always destined to be just 1 point behind the whole way. And the worry is that you get caught a point behind City and they literally just don't lose. And there's nothing you can do, and there's nothing more heart-wrenching than those seasons where you just can't get above them. And I was starting to think the other night when I watched Arsenal, and by the way, I didn't get excited about Arsenal dropping points until the 95th minute when Luton won a free kick when there were 6 minutes of added time and somehow still contrived to lose the game. And I thought, is this just going to be one where we never quite get ahead of them? And when we're 1-0 down and have the opportunity, because I didn't think they would win at Villa yesterday, I thought if we win this game, we will be top of the league this weekend. When we're 1-0 down in 75 minutes, I think, goodness me, Liverpool, you've a golden opportunity here. We're just not going to do it. We'll all be talking after the game. I'll point at Palace is fine, blah, blah, blah. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not, you're not out of the title race, and then you just sort of never get ahead. But just to be in this position right now, I think that the 4 ahead of Man City is more crucial than the 1 ahead of Arsenal, to be honest, because I do think City are the only ones we need to be worried about. I do think they will win today, but, Luton, they caused us problems, they caused Arsenal problems. I think not even in terms of the quality, I think just the style of play, Liverpool and Arsenal, will make it a little bit easier for Luton to play against. I think City will just ultimately have enough and the quality will come through, but if not, it's what is it, 7 points, or 6 or 7 points. So there's pressure on them now. And it doesn't feel like there's been pressure on City enough over the years in these title races. There is serious pressure on them. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm quite relaxed about it all. I think I may be coming across a little bit negative today, but I'm really excited by what's to come this season. I think take out the COVID season and then last season where we don't really have a midfield par for this manager and a lot of these players is 85 to 90 plus points. And I think even though we're not playing too well at the moment, we're getting the points. I didn't watch Arsenal yesterday. I think I've said to a few people I'm not overly concerned about Arsenal really. I think if they're your main title rival, I think. Come April, May, I think we're in for a big finish and possibly a league title, because I'm just not really having that they'll be there really. I think I've looked at that 23rd date for a long while. I thought we'll see to them at Anfield, and I think this little point cushion going into that game now. Hopefully, I don't know what game they've got next weekend, but it's likely to be a point going into that game. I think I've been looking forward to that for so long. I think that's going to be, them games take care of themselves, don't they? United next weekend, Arsenal at home, and then that Newcastle one New Year's Day was an 8 o'clock kickoff, isn't it, on a Monday night? I think them 3 home games.
Really worried about it.
Yeah, but I think them 3 home.
No, just solely from the point of view of what state we're all going to be in to do post-match content.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my concern. The match itself, that can take care of itself. The pressure's on the players for that. I don't know who on earth I book on the post-match Newcastle shows.
Yeah.
Me and Josh Sexton are going to have about 10 meetings to try to work it out, because you can't be putting games at 8 o'clock on New Year's Day and think that this dreadful collection of humans that we have to work with are going to be able to produce the goods.
Yeah, no. Look, really looking forward to it. Really excited. I think we can only get better from here, and getting better from top of the league is not a bad place to be.
Not at all, and that's where I think we've got to give massive credit to the team that this week.
Absolutely,
there was 3 games this week, 3 games that all of us, I think, if we're honest, expect us to win or really think we should win. But you've got to put in the hard work to do it, and they have. They've really grafted, in the wind and the rain, as we alluded to earlier, in difficult conditions, especially midweek. A new manager, Sheffield will snap into everything. Yesterday, Palace really, really were fighting for their lives, weren't they? Because they're going to get dragged into a relegation battle the way things are looking at Palace. They've lost like 4 in a row at home. There were a lot of tactical fouls, a lot of just trying to stop throw-ins, stop free kicks happening, which surprisingly ends in a booking if you do it. There was a lot of fighting and clawing that we had to do to get these 9 points. We've earned them, and that's made the possibility of those next 2 huge games. It's put them right where we want them to be.
I think you can get yourself, we've talked about, maybe we're talking a little bit negative about aspects of the performance. We can all, in the heat of the moment, think and watch a performance and think, we're not cut out to be league champions here. City don't do this. City don't throw these in. Arsenal don't throw these in. But what you have to remember is, Arsenal coming away with a 4-3 at Luton, Arsenal drawn at home to Fulham, they're saying the exact same things. They're feeling the same way.
Last minute winner at Brentford.
Last minute winner at Brentford. City conceding 4 at home away to Chelsea, 3 at home to Spurs. They're starting to think the same things. Every team and every set of fans have their doubts, and the main thing is, as you say, coming out of these with the points. And I'm really relaxed about these 3 home games. I think there's a really strong chance we get 9 points. It's almost like going 1-0 down to Burnley on Boxing Day that I'm more worried about. Now, that's a ridiculous thing to say, but I think we'll win these home games. I think we're going to be in a really healthy position now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Andy. I think a lot of the talk this season has been, how good are Liverpool? I think I've seen people saying yesterday, Liverpool are top of the league, and we still don't quite know how good they are. I think where I got frustrated yesterday is, I think I do know how good we are. I just like them to show it a bit more. But like I said before, not showing it when we're top of the league. All the fight, the heart, the will to win, that's all been there. And Neil's right to say, they've done a real job getting them 9 points, and that's all come from desire, I think. And, real character, being down 1-0 with 10-15 to go, they really have to show that. So for me, I'd rather them add that. I know the quality's going to come. If they weren't if they had the quality but they weren't showing any fight or desire, I'd be more worried about them, in a title race. I think the fact that they're showing that, and I know what's to come from them. I know there's more goals to come from Nunes. I know Diaz can show more. There's Jota to come back in. I think the midfield are only going to get better. It's really hard playing midfield for Liverpool. I think it will click eventually. I think they're only going to get better. And, I think we are in for the title race.
Roy Hodgson might be falling out of love with football, but we're not yet.
I think the points, the idea of the desire, Neil, to end it there, I think they think they're in it. And for me, and I think they've thought they're in it, going maybe away at Newcastle onwards. I think even before then, because I don't think you do what you do away at Newcastle if there isn't a sort of a collective. And when I say they, I almost mean the players, separate to the manager and the coaching staff. I think the players have thought, the senior players, the lads who've been promoted to the leadership group or to the captaincy or so on, I think they've thought, we're so in this. And I think, you think about that. I like that from a managerial point of view. Sometimes you can get carried away with the tactic stuff, because I think the manager, I think part of why he moves Trent into the middle of the pitch is he's thinking, he wants to lead on this. I'll put him in the middle of the pitch. Yeah. I'm putting him there for second half of this. I'll bring Gomez on, because part of what I'm doing is I'm saying to you, all right, you think we can win this league? You're now going to go and play centre mid, and you're going to be part of the spine of a team that you think can go and win the league. Yeah. And I think all of that's, for me, marrying all of those elements, I think, so important. And when you've got substitutes showing that sort of belief and quality that Elliott and Jones do on top of everything else, that's why I think they think they're in it. Yeah. And that, to me, is what's most exciting.
And the pain last season was evidently clear after a few weeks into the season that they didn't think they were in it. Last year
They thought they were nowhere near.
Yeah, they thought they were nowhere near, and their heads fell off. And everyone's heads fell off collectively, the fans and the players, you could see it. Whereas the opposite way at all this season, they've been so switched on. We've never seen anything more Steven Gerrard from Trent than we saw last weekend, taking a game by the scruff of the neck. No, this isn't happening. Liverpool are winning this game because we're in a title race and I'm going to make it happen. And that's what he did. And I love seeing that. Szoboszlai giving interviews, talking about everything's up for grabs. We can win it all. You can see from front to back, they all believe it and everything's possible.
Everything is possible. Mo Salah has scored 200 goals for Liverpool. 200 goals. It almost got lost and knocked over in the excitement last night of Harvey Elliott and everything else that went on. 200 goals. And if I was Gordon Hodgson, I wouldn't be sleeping nights. He is absolutely on the march, Mo Salah. Up those goal scoring rankings for Liverpool. What did we all do? We all sat round. We said 9 from 9. 9 from 9 and anything's possible. Well, 9 from 9.
John Gibbons from the Anfield Wrap here at Anfield to sample the ultimate Anfield experience. We've also brought a subscriber, Jamie, along with us as well. It's his birthday. What a birthday treat it's going to be. So let's get in.
I'm feeling like a little kid at Christmas, even though I'm 33. And I just think it's going to get better from here, I reckon.
So not a bad start today, mate. We've been in the boardroom, out here in the pitch, hearing stories from Tomo. It's been alright, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been great so far. I've really enjoyed myself.
So you fancy kickabout in Melwood?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, let's get changed and get down. Walking onto the bus and how nice it was as well. I felt like a proper footballer.
Yeah, you do. It's just these little experiences that just give you that taste of what it must be like. And imagine doing that every day. It's great that the club can offer something like this to anyone that wants to come along and do it, And I'm the lucky one that I'm getting to do it first, which is unreal, really, isn't it?
So our participants that come onto this experience get to work on the same things that our academy kids work on. The state-of-the-art facilities. Obviously former players come down and show them how it's done and give them stories about the old days as well. So hopefully the experience for people doing it as a one-off is something truly amazing.
This is it, it's the end of a wonderful day, whether we like it or not. We're going to have to go home. It's been brilliant, Steele, fantastic.
I scored at Melwood, you can't take that off me.
And on your birthday to get everything that you've done, it's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it's been a great day. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. LiverpoolFC.com/stadium-tours. If you want to get involved, great birthday present like for Jamie, great Christmas presents coming up as well. But thanks a lot for them for inviting us today.